Welcome to the 8th and final part of the garage rebuild series, the shop tour and final reveal. I have spent a considerable amount of time building out and organizing the interior of the garage and the workshop, but included in this I also revamped the driveway and some exterior areas as well. Stay tuned to see how I did it. Well, let's start our shop tour here at the workbench, and this is at the very end of our west wall here. If you've followed my other videos, you know that I built this slat wall, or I just bought a piece of this 8-foot by 4-foot slat board for a slat wall and utilized that as a big area above the bench to hang all my things. I just felt like my previous pegboard that I used to have my automotive tools on, I just felt like that was a little bit chintzy, and the slat board is just a little more stable and holds up a little bit better. I decided, instead of going 8-foot rails, I decided to do 4-foot rails. And what this railing system is the Menards Performax. It's their version of Home Depot's Husky brand or whatever. But this is their kind of heavy-duty shelving, and you can customize it in several different ways by depth and by width. This is all 24-inch depth stuff. So I started by buying the 36 tall by 24-inch depth rails, 2 of them, one at the end and one here. And that's what added this extra to my bench that I kind of didn't originally plan for. But the reason I made that change was because adding these rails, and by the way, having these are actually anchored into the concrete, and they're as well anchored in to the studs of the wall studs. But having that anchor there, because I thought I'll probably put a 4-inch vise here. I haven't mounted that yet, but just to give you an idea, that's, if I'm pounding on that, it's good to have a nice sturdy rail underneath it. So that's why I split it up. The other advantage of splitting it up into 2 4-foot sections is you can have 2 different levels of shelving like I did, and that can accommodate a different range of tools. So that's what I did. So overall, the new garage is going to be my cleaner automotive work area, and the workshop, which was my new garage before, was my automotive shop. This is going to flip-flop around. Now all my dirty tools that used to be in the garage, because my previous garage was such a nasty, ugly, dirty thing, I had all the carpentry tools and the dirty fabrication stuff in the garage. Now it's switching over. Now it's in the workshop. I'm going to try to be better, though, at keeping everything clean, even if I'm doing carpentry or fabrication work. So where this used to be my automotive area, it's now all right here. So I moved all my automotive tools into here. You can see all my jacks and jack stands and things like that. And then just other automotive tools. You can see there's the motor that's going to go into my car very soon. And then not just automotive, but my full complement of tools. One thing I learned about using that pegboard for several years is learning what I liked to grab from it and what I didn't. What I used to have on that pegboard was my socket sets in these plastic cases and then wrenches. What I found was when you grab things off pegboard, you grab a wrench, the peg would fly out, and then you'd lose it, and it would be just a pain. And what this slat board doesn't really solve that necessarily, because slat board hooks can fall out pretty easily too. But what's nice about these slat board things is they are much thicker and heavier duty. I don't have an extra one with me, but notice how heavy duty these slat board hooks are. They're typically rubberized. They're much thicker gauge than pegboard stuff, so it's a lot heavier duty. They also have a hole in them, so you can, if you mount a little black cabinet hinge screw in there, it holds it in so that it doesn't move. So you can grab tools without moving it. And yes, I spent a few weeks just making sure I was happy with this before I put any of those screws in, but you can always take the screw out, plug it with some caulk and move it if you need to. What I liked about my other pegboard wall was having my screwdrivers and common tools out. So that's what I did here. I made sure I had all my screwdrivers, my pick that I grab a lot. These pliers tend to be used a lot just for little things. So I wanted to keep those out on the pegboard, as well as hammers. I'm always wanting to just grab a hammer and use it and throw it back up there. And then clamps, always clamps and measuring tools as well, you know, PPE and stuff. It's just stuff that I like to grab real quick. And what's nice about slatboard is they make slatboard baskets. So you can even hang baskets on your wall for all your, you know, various things. Of course, the other thing I did was I hung my discs. This is very helpful here. I really like this. Before, what I did was I had them in this bin, and these bins are still mostly like, you know, just sanding and abrasives. But hunting through those bins to find a cutoff wheel or something, or a grinding thing, this is just easy. I got my cutoff wheels here, my metal grinder here, my metal flap disc here, masonry stuff here, paint removal stuff here, and then my mini metal wheels here. So that's a lot easier also to pull out. And by the way, with slatboard, you're not restricted to slatboard hooks. You can also use pegboard hooks as well. They work, most of the pegboard hooks work just fine there. So that slatboard is so much more versatile than the pegboard. I also created a light above there, just one of those Harbor Freight lights that I already had. I had 9 of these things, so I had to figure out where to put them all. But that, I made a little stands, some little jut outs from the out of black pipe. Let me turn off the light here, you can see it better. Yeah, you can see I made it out of a 1/2-inch black pipe flange and just made 2 things that jut out of the wall that it hangs off of. What I did for this top, I put some spar urethane on it, but this is just a 1/2-inch piece of plywood. Now, 1/2 inch is not enough to make a desk out of. What I ended up doing is I also had recycled a old table, a dining room table. We were gonna refinish it, but we realized then after sanding it that it's not solid wood. So we end up kind of junking it. Well, I took the old table and cut it up, and it's about 1.25 inches, that tabletop, and I lined the entire underneath of this with that 1.25 inch tabletop, and then just screwed this onto it just to make it, clean it up and make it look nicer, you know, just like one solid smooth surface. Now, aside from the racking, and then this is just more 4-foot sections right here, but I went 8-foot rails here and mounted that. Now, aside from the racking, the other thing I bought new for this garage was this guy right here. My old automotive toolbox is that Craftsman. It's a real flimsy piece of junk. I'm not saying the Husky is a professional grade box by any means, but it's certainly better than that. Not only that, it's a 24-inch depth box, so it fits really well. I left a little bit of space in here, and I built the shelf right above it, and that way I could put all my power tool charging things there. This box happens to also come with a power strip in it with some USB cords, which is really nice, and I want to make sure I utilize that. So what I did was, if you recall on my other videos, I was putting an exterior outlet on the wall, and the reason for that is so I could tap off of it. And that's exactly what I did. I ended up tapping off of it, running another outlet right there. That's powering this guy right here, which again will power all my stuff. I've got a little phone holder that I can, with a charging cord that's coming off that, my little battery powered flashlights with that little charging cable I can plug into there, and then all my, you know, tool chargers and everything like that. So for this new cabinet here, I did move all the automotive tools, like I said, from the Craftsman into here, and now I have so much more room. Just to give you an idea how big this cabinet is, you could see 46 by 24 can hold quite a bit of tools. Now I'm able to get all my sockets, socket wrenches and sockets into one area here. And this kind of gives you an idea of kind of how I buy tools. I don't buy tools in massive sets. I just kind of buy them haphazardly and maybe in little sets. But the way I organize it is you've got by drive, 1/2 inch, 3/8, and then 1/4 inch back here. And then within those segments, you've got SAE metric, SAE metric, SAE metric. And then even within those, you've got standard, deep wall, standard, deep wall, standard, deep wall, standard, deep wall. Yeah, so that's pretty much all the stuff I have, and I know I need to fill more in, but you know, I'll only buy them as I need them. That's why there's probably 7 or 8 different brands of things in here. One of the favorites being my dad's Craftsman wrench, which is from the 70s and is literally indestructible. So I've had it ever since I was a teenager. The wrenches make more sense to be in drawers now because when they're hanging on the wall, like I said, I'd knock off the peg that I was grabbing them from. But not only that, but when they're on the peg wall, I can't really see just like the sockets, I can't really see the sizes or anything. So I'd rather just pull them in the drawer so I can actually kind of see them and they stay pretty organized. So this side is my SAE, which I have more of, and this side's my metric. Again, they're just all different brands. I don't really have any complete sets anymore. There's even a snap-on in there. I'm not sure how that got in there. But yeah, a lot of Craftsman, some gear wrench, just whatever I have. And like I said, I buy them haphazardly rather than in large sets. Next set of drawers, wrenches and pliers, screwdrivers, nut drivers, hex wrenches and things like that. Like I said, the ones I know that I grab the most are right there, and the rest of them are right here. So, got to have a set of robo grips. I just found these at a pawn shop. I was pretty happy about that and got them for $5. I love these things. And then as well, you got to have an old set of channel locks right here. Just an old beat up set of channel locks. It's the greatest thing. Soft close hinges too is kind of nice. Next set of drawers is automotive specific stuff. I know mechanics would probably have 18 drawers that probably look like this, but that's all I really have. I don't do a lot of automotive work, even though I'm doing that bus restoration. This is kind of it, a little bit oil change stuff, some specialty wrenches and things like that. Clip pliers, all that, And then electrical stuff. Most of my electronic stuff is inside, my soldering station and things like that. This is where I would put the stuff that I specifically use a lot on the car, which is mainly a lot of, zip tying and anchoring stuff down. Add some tape to that, some wire strippers, things like that. But I do have more soldering stuff inside. And then finally, the big drawers. For the big tools here, my grinders, and then sanders and saw and a drill. And that's basically it. There are a couple custom shelves that I made for this. A lot of the shelves I just used the racking that you can buy with it. This is a butcher block that I happen to have in my basement, and I just cut it up into this shelf here, and it makes a really sturdy, nice shelf. I figured this one in particular, I wanted that butcher block because I just think I'll be setting stuff down on it, and it's really handy, set your phone down or set anything down on it. It's just really handy being right there, as well as obviously being able to leverage the top of the toolbox. And then I was able to also leverage all my bigger sanders and buffers I could put up there, and then the rest of my lights. I had so many lights. If you watch my video, there's probably, there's 4 still remaining. So many of those Harbor Freight LED shop lights when I was doing the painting of the car in the old garage. In the new garage, all I really had to do was hang 3 of them. So my entire lighting in here consists of 3 55 watt, 5,000 lumen shop lights, and I can always add to it. And then those 6 cans that are 650 lumen, 10 watts. So it's, when I turn on the main switch in here, it's only about 230 watts and 19,000 lumens. And because of the paint and everything, it lights up this place nice and bright. And I still have those lights up there for task lighting. Obviously, I've got this light here, and I have a switch here that I can turn it on. So when I powered that. When I ran that outlet, I just ran this outlet and then this outlet here. So I also have electrical right here by the bench, and that switch operates that outlet there to turn on the light. So we have plenty of electrical around here, as well as my 40-foot reel, and plenty of lighting. So this is really great. This black cabinet I actually didn't buy. That was in my basement, and it was holding all of my just various tools and stuff. It was kind of a junk cabinet. But now it's in the garage, and now it's just a chemicals and paint cabinet, as well as this middle shelf is where I'm going to put all my painting guns, which you can see here. I'm sure it's not blast rated, but I think it's always better to have a cabinet, a metal cabinet, in your garage for your chemicals, and if they ever explode, even if it's not blast rated, it's better than nothing. This thing I used to have in the workshop, and this was my cabinet that I used for my painting and my bodywork stuff. I outgrew it, and so when I moved my painting stuff out, now it's just bodywork. So you see hammers, my slapping spoon, longboard, sanding, all that stuff, filler stuff, dent pullers, masking, all that stuff is in there. So that's just bodywork stuff. Well, next over, my arcade game. This is actually in my office in my house. My youngest son and I have been kind of messing with this a lot. This was our little project that we did together. It's an original 80s cabinet. I'm not sure what game it originally was, but this is an original 80s cabinet. But the guts are all removed. So there's a VGA LCD screen in there, and a modern, what they call it, a JAMA board, which has 60 classic arcade games built into it, and it's run off a small computer power supply inside there. So it's mostly hollow inside, but it can run 60 or so games. And so, just while I'm, bored, I can play Pac-Man or Frogger or Donkey Kong or any of those, our old classic Namco and Nintendo arcade games, and I have a little bit of entertainment that I can do in between things. So I think that'll get a lot more play out here, and it provides a little bit of fun. So next to that, there's a little gap between my next rack, and I did that on purpose. I could have gotten a little bit of a wider rack, but I like that gap there because it allows me to put my ladder and other long tools in there, like my brooms and stuff. The nice thing about this racking is you can buy hooks for it, and as you can see, I have a few different hooks. There's a hose type hook that you can hang off the face of that racking. I also have a hook right here that I hung low just so I could step up on it and grab anything on the top shelves that I need to. This racking can handle a ton per shelf, and like I said, it's all anchored in to the concrete floor, as well as it's anchored in to the studs in the wall, to the wall studs. So I can climb all over this without any fear of causing any problems. But yeah, I got my brooms hung up on there. So that's one of the reasons why I think I'll be able to keep my shop a lot cleaner, is just having everything ready to go and on hand and in its place. So the final part of this back wall here is, the biggest thing here is this 7 by 7.5 rack. It's the same brand as that, and it's 5 shelves, and it allowed me to put all the Volkswagen parts up here, as well as all the junk that was in my shed and in the workshop and cluttering up everything. So that allowed me to organize my entire life across my basement, my house, my shed, everything. I got a lot of stuff on here. Now, what I'm excited about is once I finish the Volkswagen bus restoration, I could pretty much eliminate almost 2.5, maybe even 3 full shelves of this stuff. So eventually I'll have even more storage space once the restoration of that bus is done. That west wall was the most interesting wall, but the east wall has a few things. I've got a new 8-foot ladder now. That'll allow me to reach up to my ceiling and make changes to it if I need to, without having to have that scaffolding, so that's helpful, and it hangs up out of the way. Of course, I've got my panel, I've got my little thermometer there, I like that. And my big whiteboard I showed you in my other video on the wall board. I've even got some dry erase markers. In this corner here, I decided to make a little bit of an exercise corner. So I got a little bit of mats underneath there, a little step thing. And this guy right here, what's cool about this little gym here is that you can hang it this way and do all your pull-ups and chin-ups and things like that. Then you can flip it around and hang it on the bottom set of hooks and it comes out, and then you can do your pull-ups and your dips and everything. So it's kind of a full body little gym there and has no moving parts to it, so it should last for quite a while. Okay, so for the workshop, it really hasn't changed all that dramatically, other than I had to just clean months and months of filth from construction out of here. My compressor setup changed a bit. I used to have it kind of plumbed over the door. In fact, I did a video on it, one of the first ones on my channel. Got rid of all that. Now all it is some 1/2-inch black pipe, gas pipe, coming out of the valve into a union, into an elbow, right into the regulator. From there, you can see I've clamped it there so it's nice and sturdy, it doesn't move. Clamped it there. From there, just an old hose that goes just up over the header there and then just pops in through the wall. And then all I did was I moved my reel that used to be there over to here, bolted it to this was actually a header, so it's completely bolted to this header. But yeah, the line comes out of the wall into my dump switch and just right into the reel. And that's all it is. That's my entire air setup right now. It's fairly temporary because once I add on, I'll just probably create or just change that out to a permanent black pipe setup. But for now that works, it powers the hose. That hose is 50 feet. It can reach anywhere in the garage, anywhere in the workshop, and it can go out the window into the yard there. And if we want to pull up cars next to there and fill up the tires or do anything like that, I can also get it out of that window there and do my sandblasting out in the field. That's probably all I'll end up using, and we'll see if I ever need to upgrade it. But for now, that's all I need. Other than that, not a lot has changed there. I still have 3 lights. I have one here, and one here. They're shop lights that come on, just those 3. I've got 2 more shop lights there with pull chains for task lighting if I need to use them. Like I said, this will be more of my dirty fabrication area here. I'll do carpentry and metal work and things like that. I've got my miter saw, my table saw, which I can just pull out into the middle here when I need it. And what I'm going to do here is, abrasives, my blasting stuff, my cleaning stuff is all going to be here. This shelf now is going to be all like fasteners and hardware and things like that. And this stuff right now, I haven't completely organized everything yet, but my bins for like sanders and saws and stuff. Yeah, this wall, like I said, is just now kind of various things, carpentry tools and whatnot. My drill press is here. I haven't bolted it down yet. Still trying to figure out if that's where I want it. But other than that, this little desk right here will still have my little metal bender, my big vise, and this thing is just being set up now just to have like carpentry tools, Dremel stuff, drill stuff, my sanders, and then like maybe jigsaws and stuff like that. So that's the big change there. My pneumatic nailers are now moved out here. They used to be in my basement. Got my big framing nailer here and all my nails and my trim nailers. This is still my metal scrap pile. That's still a motor, my VW motor I'm going to sell eventually. My bandsaw, this is kind of the same, although my shelves are now more for tools rather than my VW stuff, even though there's my seat I got to install into the van eventually. And then this, I don't know what to do with yet, but this is my old desk, and I guess I'll still utilize it for welding and other stuff. I'll still leave my anvil right here. and I still have my old my bench grinder that comes off the wall there. And yeah, I mean, other than that, I think I love my air tool holder that I made a while ago. So I'm going to keep this here. And then this little thing here for all my oils and greases and other stuff. This is still my welding cabinet. I just cleaned it up, but that's where all my welding stuff's going to go. You know, my tips and wire and all that stuff. And then there's my Miller welder. It's going to sit underneath there. And that's basically the shop for now. I haven't totally figured out everything in it yet, but at least I got the layer of filth cleaned off and I got it somewhat put back together and organized. If you're wondering why I spent my entire summer pretty much reorganizing my life here, for obvious reasons, right? To get things reorganized, reset, and cleaned up so that I could be more efficient, more effective in what I do. But it's not just interior spaces that I've been working on. So let me show you some of the exterior spaces that we've also revamped at our house here, and I'll show you how we're going to be able to utilize these better in the future. One of the biggest issues as a family with grown kids that we have is getting our cars around each other on such a narrow driveway. Because we had to cut 13 feet into the apron of our old driveway to build the new garage, we also made parking even more limited. So we had more asphalt added to essentially double the width of a large portion of our driveway. Not only do we have more parking options, but now my wife can park next to the house and my kids can still easily get around her in the morning when they leave for work or school. I also built this little fence section to make a little trash can garage area to clean up our patio area. But my favorite thing we did was add asphalt between the garage and the shed. We paved that entire area. And notice that I installed some fence posts at the end of that asphalt. That will soon be a privacy fence, and the idea is we'll wrap it around that area behind the shed and use it for something. And I still need to clean it all up before the winter. But I'm excited to have this paved area so I can do automotive work outside when it's nice out, or if I'm just doing something real messy I don't want to do in the shop. I can also walk from my house all the way into my workshop door without walking on dirt or grass, which should keep my floors a little bit cleaner. Well, now that you've seen what I spent my summer on, I just want to let you know that the Volkswagen bus restoration and EV conversion videos will start coming now. So if you're new to my channel, please subscribe to see when those videos drop. And add a comment to this video if you have more suggestions for me as to how I can improve my garage setup or what interesting things you've done in your garage. And thanks so much for watching. You guys take care of yourselves and we'll see you next time.